Hello and welcome to this first pass on the sketches. In this case, I'm just going to show you how normally I start my sketches. Sometimes I just start drawing, sometimes I just start with a little quick 3D. In this case, what I'm going to do is just like a super basic block-in. So what I'm going to do right now is just here in ZBrush, I'm just going to search using a couple of polygons and a couple of primitives, how to just basically make some simple shape, and then later on I'm going to draw something. This is something I do just to clear my mind and just to know what kind of feeling my spaceships are going to have. In this case, for example, I'm just here just twitching, for example, a cylinder using the bend curves on ZBrush. Obviously, right now maybe you don't know ZBrush enough to do all of that, but don't worry, after all of these videos you will know how to do this completely fine. And also, I have to say, for this process, obviously, you can use any tool you want. If you want to use another software like Modo, Cinema 4D, or Blender, just to do this quick blocking is completely fine. What I'm doing here, it's in my case, because I feel so comfortable working on ZBrush, even though for now maybe you can see this, and if you never saw how to model these kind of things in ZBrush, you can be a little bit confused, like what Pablo is doing right now. It's just like, what is it? This is not ZBrush. This is, normally people use ZBrush for sculpting characters and creatures and all of that, but ZBrush is a great tool and you can do almost everything except rendering, unfortunately, for now. But you have a cool bridge for Keyshot, and you can export it and put it on Blender or Octane, whatever you prefer. So what I'm doing here is just like I'm going to do an asymmetry shape. In this case, this is just one of my many sketches I normally do. So this is just me like thinking what to do for the tutorial. Maybe this design at the end is not the design I choose for final. It's just like a quick design I'm doing. So I'm going to try to don't spend too much time here mucking around in ZBrush, basically, because what I wanted to do is just to get a cool idea and a good feeling. And later on I'm going just to jump to new app I'm using on my iPad. I'm just getting the dust out from my iPad because it was getting dust because I was not using it too much. So I discovered this application you call Infinite Painter, which have like a great drawing tool. So I'm basically going to paint over this later. So that's why I'm going to try to keep this base model very simple, because then later on, if I want to do any changes or something, I will probably just adjust them on my iPad drawing, or later on on my model. Because when you do a sketch, sometimes a sketch is just to get the shape and the graphic visualization of the spaceship. In this case, I'm not doing the sketch just then to follow it 100%. You will see in my process how I change a lot, or how I maybe during the spaceship the sketch is like only 10%, or sometimes it's a 90% of the similarity, because you change a lot while you're working and your mind is completely different. This case is I'm here just using a little bit of mask and extruding. As you can see, this is like kind of a modeling in any kind of software, very basic modeling. And as you can see, I'm just trying things. Maybe I put things in and out. It's just like all the time checking the shape, checking the balance of the overall spaceship. Like imagine if this needs to be built, if it will feel real or it will feel a little bit fake. Everything depends. So what I'm doing now, for example, here I was starting to jump into details, and I don't want to get lost in details because this is just to get the vibe. So quickly I just change to the other shape just in case. I'm going to adjust here a little bit the sizes and everything. Obviously this is kind of my workflow in ZBrush, and you can see, and you are going to be almost tired to see this all the time, which is like me making mask and extruding, making a mask and extruding, making a mask and extruding. I'm not using any any complicated modeling tool or something like that. I just use a little bit Z modeler at the beginning, which can be the most weird thing you saw in the video, because it's a weird tool if you never use ZBrush for this kind of modeling. You are more focused on maybe just the characters and the creatures and the organic stuff. So for the rest, it's just like, as you can see, I'm just cutting, I'm moving mask, putting mask, and just extruding kind of like what you can do in Blender or stuff like that. Here I'm quite happy already with the result. So what I'm going to do here is now like tweak it a little bit more and just do a quick render in ZBrush. I'm not going to put it not even in Keyshot or Octane or something like that. I'm just going to do the quick render in ZBrush. I'm here just adding a little bit of strong in the strong piece in the main wing, but as you saw, like, it's super simple. And then later on I'm going to just jump on the iPad and draw it on the top here, just like I'm trying to reuse the same piece all the time, just because I don't want to model a new one. In this case I'm going to add here, for example, just extruding this face. I'm going to just add like an extra wing, or like just to support the heaviness of the spaceship or something like that, just like maybe because sometimes the design asks you to do this kind of changes. So I'm just going to adjust this. I want this more circular. That's it. That's cool. Okay, just going to grab this. Nope, that one. Just move it here. That's looking okay. That's looking cool. Just going to make it a little bit thinner. That's looking alright. Just going to do now one here to the bottom, like kind of like a surfing a boat. Like the boats, they have these weird pieces going through the water just to sustain. So just going to put a little bit more of geo and just extrude it into the inside, move it, and just make that feeling of something more round. Actually, I just can apply subdivisions just to see if it will see a little bit more smooth. Just going to apply subdivisions here, Control D for subdivisions, and just now I'm going to choose a cool angle. See if this angle is cool. Now, when I'm happy with the angle, I'm going to make quickly one thing here. And I'm just going to add a bigger wing here on the side. Just a second. Super simple. Just grabbing a cube. And now I'm going to make a cut. That's looking cool. Now maybe I can just like reuse this piece for the back and do kind of like supporting wings on the bottom part of the spaceship, maybe something like this. That is cool. Going to mirror it, and I'm just going to put it on the other side. Doesn't need to be perfect, like it's just like to add a little bit of balance on the design. Just going to turn on the perspective just to make our render, and I'm just going to click render here on the bottom, BPR, and now jumping into iPad. So what I'm doing here, I've got a thing when I'm drawing, and when I draw normally on paper or iPad, I had the thing of I just rotated too much. So I'm sorry if you are not seeing all the time the model, because this is like real time, so you're looking at me just directly painting. This is kind of like the way I always work, because I know the way I move my hand is always better in some poses and directions. So that's why I rotate and I make a lot of zoom. And actually, as you can see, it's not even a super clean drawing, because this is just to get the idea, to get the shape and get the vibes. Imagine you want to have like you're working for a movie or you're working for a video game, and they want to have in your first day like I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 different proposals, completely different. So this method is super quick, just to get quick the ideas, just like a quick base on 3D and paint over. Obviously, if you have the skills to draw perspective super good and everything, that's completely fine. That's even better. But in this case, for me, it's faster if I just use a little bit of 3D, because even though I always try to practice my drawing skills, I'm not the best drawer in the world. So I'm not going to fail, but it's going to take me more time. So in this case, I'm just like drawing with this 3D base, which is a little bit of cheating, but it's completely fine. You know, it's like we are just working and we need to see the idea, not the pureness of our technique. So you can see here, I'm just drawing with the iPad. I'm not using any special tool or anything. I'm just using the default, as you can see, the default pen brush, and that's it. I'm using all the brushes I'm using are the default ones. Maybe I modified a little bit the pressure just to feel the pressure how I like it, but that's something personal, so you will do as you want. In this case, as you can see, one thing good of Infinite Painter, just to draw kind of more technical type of drawing like this one, is like sometimes if you hold if you try to make a straight line and you hold it for a little bit, you will have that option of that the program is going to make the line completely straight automatically, which is awesome. Honestly, it's just like a great thing to do. And also they have the same tool but with a circle. So if you try to do something similar than a sphere or a circle and you hold your pen a little bit, like for, I think it's like 1 second. I mean, you can configure it, but I think it's like for a second or 2 seconds, you will see how you can see how it's like popping. So that means it's correcting my lines. So it's the same for circles. So for circles, if you do a circle and you hold it for 2 seconds, it's going to correct you the sphere you're drawing to have something more correct, which is fun. Here in this case, I'm just losing a little myself on small tiny details. Maybe we don't need this because we want to get the vibes, but I don't know. I mean, I always like to introduce a little bit of detail, like the kind of gribbles we are going to add later on in our design after made all of them. So you can see anytime you see the circle, like the pop, you can see there, that means it's like I'm just holding just to make the clean lines and to use the tool of the program just to help me to draw. I think Procreate does the same thing. In this case, I was just using Infinite Painter. I mean, I don't know. It's not a preference. It's just like I wanted to try this new program, and it's basically, I think it worked pretty well, and I'm using it right now also for professional stuff, which is pretty cool too. In this case, I'm just like adding a new layer on top with 50% of opacity, and I'm just going to, color a little bit the whole spaceship just to get it a little bit more of the volumes there, but not super complicated. I'm also trying to imitate a little bit the Sid Mead, Ralph McQuarrie, Joe Johnson, or Do Chang type of presentations when they did the sketches for the movies. I literally grow up with all of that, and I just love how they present the spaceships with the markers back in time. In this case, we are just using iPads because it's our time. Obviously, if you use markers, that would be even more impressive, and if they look good with the markers, I mean, that's completely awesome. But in my case, I'm just using this. I'm just using this application, which was pretty cool. I'm just going to add a couple of details just to get the volumes better, and a couple of rusty elements, which is like super quick to do. As you can see, it's just have fun drawing a little bit. Small scratches on the surface and everything. That's cool. That's perfect. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit of the shadows here, maybe. Then I can use the Smudge Tool. I'm again using the default one from the program just to adjust. In this case, I've got this brush, which is like the normal brush, but as you can see, had like a little bit of texture, which is completely fine and is quite what I'm looking for. And now I'm going to add this Sid Mead and Do Chang type of presentation when they add this black thick lines around. So I'm basically, the good thing about technology, I just can put a new layer on the top and now adjust that layer and then just bring the back again. So as you can see, back in time, they have to do it perfect on the first row, or they can put tape, but you cannot fail. In this case, we can fail, and we can just make the presentation look okay. Just going to add a little bit of variation in the materials, like a more shiny material. Just going to retouch a little bit this cockpit just to make it more the brightness on the shape. Just going to add quickly with one of the spray brushes. Again, default brushes from the program, and this one is the charcoal one. Again, this is from the default and looks pretty cool, just to add even a little bit more of this traditional feeling on it. I think it's looking pretty cool.